My name is Lucas Reyes. I'm 38 years old, and I own a small apartment complex in Toronto, Canada. I bought it with every ounce of savings I had after years of working double shifts in maintenance and property management. It's not a luxury place, but it's mine. A modest, 12-unit building filled with working-class tenants, retirees, and a few university students. Everyone got along fine, until he moved in. His name was Colin Ward, early 30s. Clean-cut, polite at first. The kind of guy who shakes your hand too firmly while maintaining eye contact a little too long. When he applied, his paperwork was spotless. Great references, steady job, clear background check. He seemed perfect. But within the first week, the emails started. "Hi, Lucas. Just letting you know there's a thumping sound from apartment 3B again. Happens around 9:03 p.m. every night." It was his neighbor's washing machine. I told him that. The next night? "Lucas, I'm hearing footsteps. Could you ask the tenant upstairs to walk softer? It's distracting during my yoga sessions." I sighed, trying to be understanding. It's part of the job. People complain. You listen, you mediate, you move on. Except Colin didn't move on. Every single day. He logged every sound, every hum, cough, sneeze, or shuffle in a color-coded spreadsheet that he proudly attached to his complaint emails. I'm not exaggerating. The man had timestamps, decibel estimates, and notes on tonal variation. At first it was almost funny, then it became maddening. Because here's the twist, none of the other tenants were doing anything wrong. Still, Colin wasn't satisfied. He started demanding rent reductions for disturbances to his mental peace. He quoted sections of Ontario's tenancy laws like a self-taught lawyer. The man was turning normal life into a courtroom drama. After the fourth week of non-stop messages, I finally called a meeting. Colin showed up in a blazer, holding a folder labeled Noise Evidence. Meanwhile, Mrs. Levy, a 70-year-old retired teacher living upstairs, came clutching her knitting bag. Colin started the meeting with a PowerPoint presentation. Slide 1. Timeline of audible infractions. I stared. Was this man for real? Mrs. Levy was bewildered. "Honey, I'm asleep by 9 p.m. I don't even have a TV." But Colin doubled down. "That's impossible. The noise patterns are identical to human footfalls, 72 to 80 BPM. I kept my composure, but inside, my patience was cracking. It wasn't just about complaints anymore, it was control. He wanted to manipulate the system, to exploit his right to quiet enjoyment as a tool for discounts. And the kicker? He began leaving anonymous notes under his neighbors' doors. "Please respect others' need for silence. Quiet hours are mandatory, be considerate." Sound travels easily through old walls. People started turning on each other, whispering complaints, tiptoeing around like criminals in their own homes. Then came the first rent deduction request. Colin emailed me claiming his psychological well-being had suffered due to repeated environmental noise trauma. He reduced his rent by $200 on his own accord and sent payment for the rest. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about sound. This was a game of power. And he thought he was winning. I decided to investigate quietly. I installed a discreet hallway microphone outside Colin's apartment, not for spying but to verify his so-called noise complaints. I also asked a friend who worked in sound analysis to help me interpret the data. A week later, the results were hilarious. Every time Colin claimed to hear heavy thuds, the recording showed nothing but silence. Except one strange thing, faint noises from inside his own apartment. A clanging sound every evening, almost rhythmic like dumbbells dropping. Turns out, Colin wasn't hearing anyone else. He was hearing himself. The man was working out in his living room with weights, then blaming the building for being too loud. I laughed so hard I almost choked on my coffee. But I didn't act right away. I needed more. Because people like Colin manipulators don't stop until you teach them a lesson they'll remember every time they hear a pin drop. So I waited. And watched. And gathered evidence, emails, timestamps, absurd noise claims. The spreadsheet grew. My revenge plan evolved. By month 3, the situation hit a breaking point. Colin filed an official complaint with the Landlord-Tenant Board, claiming emotional distress caused by incompetent property management. He wanted 6 months' rent waived. I showed up at the hearing with printouts of every complaint, every reply, every timestamp, and a USB stick of audio recordings. The board officer listened patiently, nodding as Colin ranted about sonic terrorism and vibrational harassment. When it was my turn, I calmly said, "I'd like to play you something." I hit play on the recording, the sound of dumbbells thudding against hardwood, followed by Colin's own voice grunting through reps. The room went silent. Colin's face drained of color. The officer raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Ward, that noise appears to be you." Colin stammered something about audio distortion and tampered evidence, but it was over. The case was dismissed. However, revenge wasn't complete, because legal justice isn't always real justice. Not for people like him who twist truth for self-benefit. So I decided to get creative. One night, after yet another email from Colin titled, "New Disturbance Pattern Detected," I cracked. But I didn't yell or argue. I smiled. If Colin wanted noise, he'd get noise. I spent an entire weekend crafting what I now call the noise complaint ninja trap. Using a Bluetooth speaker hidden in the hallway ceiling, I programmed a series of random neighbor sounds: footsteps, doors creaking, muffled TV chatter, all at believable volumes. But here's the twist. It only activated when Colin's lights turned off, using a motion sensor I discreetly placed above his doorframe. Every night he tried to sleep. The noises came alive. Footsteps, murmurs, faint music. Just enough to make him question his sanity. At 3 a.m., he'd storm out into the hall, recording with his phone, yelling, "I knew it. You people are conspiring." Meanwhile, every other tenant slept peacefully because the sound was localized near his unit only. I'd watch the security footage in my office, sipping tea, chuckling like a man finally reclaiming his peace. Within 2 weeks, Colin looked like a wreck. Dark circles, paranoid eyes, twitchy movements. He began confronting neighbors, accusing them of audio warfare. Then came his final email subject line, "I'm moving out." But of course, in true Colin fashion, he tried to play victim till the end. "Due to your inability to maintain reasonable sound levels, I am terminating my lease immediately." Fine by me. The day he left, I watched from the parking lot as he loaded boxes into his car, muttering to himself. He glared at me one last time, and I simply smiled. After he drove off, I checked his apartment. On the counter sat a note. "You'll never silence me." I laughed so hard my stomach hurt. The building was finally quiet. The first night after Colin left, I walked the halls of my building. No notes. No emails. No spreadsheets. Just silence, real silence. The tenants came out, smiling again. Mrs. Levy brought me cookies. Even the couple in 2A said, "Feels like the air's lighter." And that's when I realized, sometimes, revenge isn't about cruelty. It's about poetic irony, giving someone exactly what they asked for, in a way they'll never forget. So whenever I hear a complaint about noise now, I smile and think of Colin, the self-proclaimed noise complaint ninja, who finally got a taste of his own chaos.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one on the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.